This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Due to a malfunction of sorts in the operation of the TV recording, I am recapitulating a meeting that just occurred today, Thursday, June 2nd, beginning at 7 o'clock of the Easthampton Community Garden. The meeting was called to order at 7:08 p.m. Present at the start of the meeting was myself, Stephen Linsky, the clerk secretary of the committee, Susan Greenleaf, Eric Gioca, Ted Stark was also present. We had a guest present, Zach Venus, as well. There was a call to order again at 7:08. There was no members of the public present for a public comment. The minutes for our previous meeting held on May 5th were adopted unanimously. The treasurer's report given by Ted Stock was read into the record and hard copies provided to all the members and posted on our website. In short, the treasurer's report indicated a present balance, total balance of $3,299.78. $1,960.68 of that amount is unallocated, and a total of $1,339.10 is allocated. Again, that comes to a total of $3,299.78. The petty cash balance showed at $289.30. The report was adopted unanimously. The operations report was read into the record because Frank Johnson, who provides that report, was unable to attend this evening due to illness. The report was read as follows. It appeared to Frank at his last visit to the site this weekend that all the plots have in some form or fashion shown that they're being actively cultivated or in the process of being cultivated. That there is a need to assemble a mowing crew as soon as possible. Frank has offered to demonstrate to folks how to use the mower at the garden. It is also important that everyone take up the weeding. Right now that there are grasses particularly that are proliferating that need to be addressed. There was a request made that rocks should not be placed in the walking corridors or aisles because of problems if they hit the lawnmower. Also, hoses should be coiled in a way so that they are not touching the ground, so that the mowing can be done more easily. And that there's a need to put together a workday, particularly focused on the B1 area where there are some thistle issues. This issue of thistles was taken up later in the meeting. The outreach report, the internal outreach report, was read into the record by Eric Gioca. Margie Phillips was unable to attend this evening. She reports that there are 2 plots now that are open, they being B1 and C12, and that she also reported that she's been in contact with individuals who could provide us with more wood chips. as well. Eric Skalka provided the external report. He has done some research on compost providers. Again, there are folks that may be in need of additional compost. Eric himself is, but he believes that from what he's heard from others that we might have as much as 5 cubic feet of need and perhaps even more. And that Four Seasons, from his research, appears to be the vendor that can give us the best price, and we've been very satisfied with the product recently. So he will be in contact with them to try to get a total price, including delivery, and then see what folks are interested in doing that. It is something that would have to be done relatively soon because we're at that point where people are cultivating, and they would need to have the compost in place before then. Then the donation garden report was read into the record. Mark Leonis, who is the person who coordinates and reports on the donation garden, was not able to attend the meeting, and so he provided the following report that was read into the record. He reported that the donation garden is progressing, that Ben Lesko weed whacked grass around the donation garden beds. Alyssa helped weed for one of the beds. David Clark Carroll donated cucumbers and zucchini plants, plus gave advice on starting the weed whacker. Caitlin Comodi and Olivia Burke have also donated plants. Beds have been weeded and mulched, and potatoes have been planted, along with donations from David. The plan is to continue to plant tomatoes, kale, pole beans, etc. And this crew will continue to water and weed that donation garden plot. And that was his report. The pollinated garden, which is usually reported on by Karen Zabosky. Karen was not present and did not provide a report. However, Susan Greenleaf did mention that they have a number of daisies on their plot, C1, that they would be willing to donate to the pollinated garden. So that information will be relayed to Karen. There is, in terms of the gardener feedback, a letter was read in from, that was received from Deb Friedman, who was wondering basically whether or not we were going to take up the issue of the proliferation and concern that's been expressed about the thistles. She wrote that she wanted to know what was being done about the thistle in D1. At a minimum, she believes there needs to be a whole lot more cardboard brought so that it can be laid down after remaining thistle gets dug. Because digging alone, in her estimation, will never fully stop the thistle from growing back because the plot is full of tiny rootlets buried in the soil. Susan Greenleaf reported that her plot C1, they also have an issue with thistle. So the discussion centered around whether or not we should assemble a work party, which was something that Frank kind of reported as his thought, and I think that Deb Freeman is asking for. And so we're looking to calling one perhaps for Saturday, June 11th. Frank Johnson is going to be going to the garden this weekend to mow and to assess the situation again with that, and we sent the communication out to him about whether or not a work party is needed, as he believes so, that whether Saturday the 11th would be a good time for that, starting at 9 o'clock. Eric Sioka is prepared to put that information in our Facebook page so that we can get the word out to people. In terms of the rest of the gardeners' feedback, Susan Greenleaf is going to check with her daughter Sarah, who is the city arborist, about whether or not there is a need for the garden to take in some of the additional trees that have been distributed to city residents. And although she also thought that perhaps the middle school might be another area where those trees could go. In terms of new business, as mentioned earlier, we did have a guest, Zach Banis. Zach has offered his services to help out. He just wants to volunteer. He is willing to cultivate a plot, either for the donation garden or otherwise. So he's given information about submitting in a application in light of the fact that we have apparently 2 plots that are presently available, B1 and C12. He also indicated willingness to help out with tasks, including, for instance, work parties, etc., relative to the weeding that needs to be done. So we indicated our appreciation for Zach showing up at the meeting and offering his services. That concluded the agenda items, and a motion to adjourn was taken and approved at 8:03 p.m. This concludes the recapitulation of the meeting, now that we have it properly recorded so that people can look at it next time. Our next meeting date is July 7th at 7 p.m.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.